Welcome back to the Agriland stand here. Thanks to Colin for that report. And we are about to start our live podcast from day 3 of ploughing 2024. And I'm very delighted to have in the Agriland tent today farmer number 1, but a social media star number 2. He's Philip Stewart. He's a farmer, but you may know him as Farmer Phil on all social media. So, Phil, thanks very much for joining us here in the Agriland tent today. Now, I think most people know your story because, you know, you've got your whole life displayed, I suppose, on a lot of social media. But just for anyone who doesn't know your background, you know, what sort of farming system you have, run us through the farm that you do, the farming you do in County Longford.
Yeah, so thanks for having me on. And so we're farming in South County Longford. Not that it makes much of a difference, but we're farming 590 acres, about 240 acres of that are crops. So we have, this year we had all spring crops. So we had barley, oats, peas, beans, maize, beet, pumpkins, sunflowers. I think that's them all. We also rear dairy calves to beef, so primarily Frisian and Jersey Cross and Frisian Cross. We do rear a couple of Angus and Herefords as well. About 250 of them every year, bring them to beef at 24 months. And then we're also contracting in as well. And in regards to contracting, we do everything but hedge cutting. That's generally the easiest. We do pits, bales, pipes, tankers, the whole lot. And then we also have a good collection of vintage machinery, which we do truck with every now and again. So
yeah, I'll come back to you now on the vintage machinery because I know you're a big fan. You have a busy operation there. That, yes. You know, you have a fair amount of land there in tillage, and then obviously, you know, rearing calves as well is a busy task. But tell us about the challenges, I suppose, particularly for your own farm. Well, it's a family farm, but tell us about the challenges that you've seen this year. I mean, look at, obviously, weather has been a big challenge for all farming.
Yeah, the weather at the start of the year and the start of the summer months was quite cold. Maize got off to a poor start. The pumpkins were off to a poor start. Grass growth was poor, and we were kind of hopping and trotting with cattle, and we were just about on the verge of having to start grazing some of the silage ground. But we have quite a large land base over us because we took on another new farm this year and dropped 2 farms, and we ended up at 60 acres more grassland. So we weren't too bad off. But in the back end now, when we got the warm weather, we got lots of grass, and now we have heaps of grass ahead of us. We've heaps of surplus silage, and things aren't going too bad now. It's shaping up quite nicely for the end of the year.
Yeah, a bit of a bounce there now for the last while that has helped out, I suppose, in many ways. And so that was, as I said, the weather challenge earlier on in the year. But I suppose there's a few opportunities for you now. You said the pumpkins were hit a bit, but we're mid-end September now. I'm sure there'll be demand for those pumpkins in a month's time around Halloween. Yeah,
so we're having a pumpkin patch, so our pumpkin tickets will be going up online next week. So I also forgot to mention we have a farm shop as well.
That's right.
But the pumpkin patch, the tickets will be going on next week, and we're hit a bit on the crop, so we're probably down 1 or 1.5 pumpkins per plant. But we still have 6 acres of pumpkins, so we should be able to keep up with demand for the pumpkin patch. So yeah, they're tipping away there nicely. And our sunflower patch this year done very well. And unexpectedly, we thought the sunflowers would need a lot of heat and a lot of sun, but they grew exceptionally well for such a cold start to the year.
Yeah, it's amazing what kind of conditions they're hardy enough plants, really,
very
like
hardy.
When you think about it. And you mentioned the farm shop there, and that's something I think a lot of farmers nowadays in particular are considering, is maybe some sort of diversification in the farm to get a bit of extra income coming in, or some sort of other, you know, we can't depend on the weather. You don't know what beef or milk price is going to be at any given time of the year as such. So they're looking for other ways of making an income stream. How did you veer into the farm shop side of things?
So it was something I always wanted to do, but my father was always of the mindset, we don't have the population. Like, we go to England, and every mile of the road you'll see another farm shop.
Oh, sure, this is it, yeah.
But in Ireland then we just don't have the same population. And I see my wife standing there, and when she come over, she was the main instigator behind it, and we opened the farm shop as a means for her to be able to get a wage from the farm and be able to be at home farming.
Yeah.
And we've succeeded in that. And we started off, my father gave me half of a car garage, so it's about 8 foot by 6 foot, 3 freezers in it. We started off selling our own beef and some local produce, and we expanded into pork and into honey, and just kept growing what we were doing, and then the pumpkin patch and the sunflowers, and we're now investing in a new farm shop, cafe, vintage machinery museum, and just a whole bigger general operation, because we've proved the concept, and now it's time to push it on to the next level.
Wow, that's incredible. And like the product there, that's a very short farm to fork journey, really, isn't it? And that's a big thing, particularly with consumers nowadays.
Yeah, no, like we even made, like one of the things with my videos, you can see the day the calf arrives and you can watch the whole process through to when he's going for slaughter.
Yeah.
And we even made a video of farm to fork where we had a pedigree Jersey bull and we showed him this is what he looks like alive. We gave him a bit of a confirmation what way he was. We loaded him, we dropped him to our butcher, and then we came back then when the butcher was going to break the carcass, and he also showed us other carcasses he had in the chill on the same day. And then we seen the process, breaking it, the different cuts, brought him home, we cooked them and we ate him. And we put that with 190 kilos of beef, I think it was, off that Jersey, we call them the Jersey boys.
Yeah.
And we sold them in 3 hours online out of the video after.
Wow, that's incredible. And the expansion plans that you have for something like a vintage museum and something like, you know, I suppose a lot of farmers, particularly at this time of year, are worried about cash flow in their own farms at the moment, maybe just with livestock or tillage or that. How do you go to banks, or how do you go to anywhere you need to get investment and say, this is what I want to do, this is, you know, how I'm going to diversify even further on the farm that I have?
Yeah, so we run, all our businesses are run separately of each other. So the contracting is its own business, the farm is its own business, the YouTube is its own business, the farm shop is its own business. The accountant loves us because he has to do 4 sets of accounts every year.
Wow, yeah, I can well imagine.
But it means that every business is individual, so maybe the farm, you get poor price for grain, or maybe beef isn't good, it doesn't sync your next business. Yeah. So with the likes of the farm shop has been going very well, and we've been running for 3 years now, and we just went in with 3-year sets of accounts. This is the plan, this is our expectations of how we should be able to grow, provide more events, bigger events, and we got on pretty well with the bank. AIB our Bank of Ireland looked after us quite well. It was pretty straightforward.
That was, you know, a very strong business plan, is to keep everything separate.
Yeah.
So if beef price goes down or you have a bad harvest, it doesn't impact, we'll say, on the likes of the shop and that, you know. Yeah, ideal. And with the social media side of things then, Farmer Phil, how did you get into YouTube? How did it become so popular?
It was 10 years ago next year. I was in college in Garcheen, and myself and a friend used to watch a lot of YouTube, and there was one day we were watching YouTube, and I said for the crack I'd start a YouTube channel, and he said, no, you won't. And I said, well, feck you, I will. Yeah. And that's how it started. And like I started off making farming simulator videos. I'd done that for about 3 years, and I just thought to myself, you know, I was literally cutting silage all day, come in at 10 o'clock at night, make a video on the laptop about cutting silage and farming simulator. And I was like, why am I filming what I'm actually doing instead of what I was playing at night? And I made it on my phone to start, and then my wife bought me a GoPro for my birthday. And once the quality of the videos improved, then it really started to take off, and especially then through COVID, that's when it really started to grow well.
I mean, you get thousands upon thousands of views on videos that you put up, doing your everyday life, essentially, you know, working on the farm. But what do you think? And it's a great proportion of people who watch all of the farming videos on YouTube don't know next to nothing about farming, not involved in farms themselves, which we've noticed from a lot of data. So what do you think makes it so attractive to people to watch?
It's a hard one to know. Like, some people find it relatable what individual people on social media are doing, whether it's similar things to what they're doing, and sometimes they'll learn something from what you're doing in your videos, or sometimes it's a release for people who are away abroad, living abroad, and it reminds them of what they used to do when they were back in Ireland, or sometimes, especially with some of our videos where we work on some of our vintage machinery, some of the older generation quite like that because reminds them of their childhood. So it's quite a broad spectrum of people. And then sometimes there's people who have nothing to do with farming and just like seeing the green grass and cattle roaming about. Yeah,
I know certainly from our own experience as well, and I want to come back to this now, it's machinery. I mean, people go stone cracked for machinery. I mean, in fairness, I like machinery myself. I keep getting drawn to the machinery stands down here for whatever reason. But in terms of the machinery content that you put up. We've kind of chatted to you before, Phil, about various things, but always what comes through is you have a great grow for the machinery.
Yes.
I mean, you're involved in agri contracting, first of all, but was it from a very young age that you were just absolutely obsessed with it?
Yeah, like for us, I can remember when I was 8, I think, walking in the avenue, dreaming about being 16 and having the license so I could get driving.
Yeah.
And like when I was 13, I started doing rapping. And they were literally, I don't know how they ever put up with it, but my mother would be plagued picking up the baler driver to drive back to where I was to pick up the rapping tractor to move me to where the baler was. The baler man kept going, I'd wrap the bales, and then this would go on for the whole day, just keeping me moving behind the tractor. And I've always driven machinery. It's really do like machinery. Like.
And then the vintage, you're very much into the vintage, side of the machinery. Probably much of was in use maybe before you were even born, Phil. So how did you get like such an interest in vintage side?
It kind of runs in the family. My father is a great enthusiast for vintage tractors, and all across his life he's been collecting tractors. We currently have 34 tractors on the farm.
Wow, 34. Gosh.
Yeah. So we've 8 full-time working contracting tractors, and then the rest are vintage from all sort, mostly Massey Ferguson, obviously, but we've a lot of some rare yokes, some unusual yokes, and just I don't know how, you can't really explain it. It's just you have it or you don't.
Yeah, and the Masseys then obviously are used on the agri contracting side of things. You're big fans. I feel like if you go with the brand, you kind of stick with it, And you get those locally then, Phil?
Sometimes we do. We generally buy whatever is, when we're looking for a tractor, wherever the tractor is available that we're looking for. Sometimes it's circumstance that a tractor comes up, we might be looking, but it just suits us at the time, or sometimes we're looking for a specific tractor and we find it wherever it is in the country.
And what kind of criteria to be looking at for the likes of working in agri contracting?
A tractor with a reliable model. Anyone can tell you that even within Massey's, that there's certain years or certain variations mightn't be as reliable as other ones. So we'd always be looking for the ones we know are more reliable. And then part of it as well is what it done in its past life. Was it a contractor's tractor? Was it a farmer's tractor? And then whether it was an Irish tractor or a UK tractor, there are different things like that. You'd look at the hours and then obviously the price.
Yeah. Well, we used to have a Massey 135 that my father did up, and he sold it at a vintage auction before, and I think it was the saddest day of his life when he let it go. Who then, when you have that many, now I know some are vintage and they're probably just parked up, but when you run an agri contracting business, it's not just you buy your new tractor or almost new tractor and off you go. There's a huge amount of maintenance and cost involved in that. Do you do the works yourself, or do you bring it somewhere?
So we do all the repairs ourselves.
Oh, wow,
so
yeah.
My father would be very mechanically minded, and we've been quite lucky that a lot of the staff we've had in the last year or so have been quite mechanically minded as well. So we generally do it all ourselves. In the contracting game, you kind of have 2 options. You're either repairs or repayments.
Yeah.
So we tend to be on the repair side of that.
Yeah, and it works out better probably for you in the long run then.
Yeah, well, it's how much you value your time. Like if you're incredibly busy, you don't like downtime, maybe you're not as handy with the spanners, repayments might suit you more than repairs. As with repairs, if you have one tractor that can mow and that breaks down, you're stuck. That's why we kind of have so many tractors, because if one tractor breaks down, you get off it, you get the next one. One baler breaks, you park it, you get the next one. That's kind of how our business has been set up over the years.
And how many have you working for you then, or is it on a seasonal basis, or did they be doing other stuff throughout the year?
Yeah, so during the summer, I think there was 7 of us full time, so that included family members and then also workers we'd hired in, and there's currently 4 or 5 of us working now through the harvest.
Oh, through the harvest. You mentioned there's a lot of family roped in. It is a family affair. I think you're all involved in it.
Yeah.
Started obviously with your dad, and then I think your brother's involved in it as well, Philip, and obviously Liv is here as well. She's involved in it. Now, I know from my own family, and I have a big one, at the best of times we can test each other. But we do get on now, in fairness. We work well together. So I don't know, how do you get on and work as a family unit in your enterprise.
So you just kind of knuckle down and you get on with it. And then like that, every now and again, you have to have a bit of a row and clear the air and you keep going. But the main thing is we stick together and head down and we keep going. Like me and Liv could be working cattle. We generally do all the cattle work and we could be blinding and cussing each other out of it. And once you're finished cattle, you hug and make up and you keep going.
Yeah, I think that's nature working in the countryside or out in country life. Do you know what I mean? I mean, some of the language that I heard as a 6 and 7 or 8-year-old girl out in the fields when I was small shouldn't have been heard by little ears at all. But it's forgotten when you go back and have the tea in the evening. Do you know, that kind of way? And you know, I just want to touch there a little bit on the family. Philip, he had a tractor run recently, a memorial tractor run. So just for those who don't know, will you tell us, I suppose, the idea, how it came about and who it was in memory of?
Yes, so my late uncle passed away in 2022 of cancer, and we bought a 1200 for him previous to that to try and pick him up a wee bit, and it's currently on a stand here at the Ploughing. And towards the end, he asked us would we hold a tractor run in his memory to raise money for the Irish Cancer Society's 9 nurses, the local hospice home care, and he also wanted to raise money for the palliative care, but they're funded by the HSE.
Yeah.
So that was his wishes. So we've carried out his wishes last weekend, and we had a great day with 306 tractors on the field.
Wow.
And we had a great support from the local community and local businesses and other local vintage clubs and groups support us, and it just went off without a hitch, and it was just fantastic. So it was
such a beautiful sight as well to see in memory of someone, and even that he was able to ask you to do that in his memory, you know, before he went as well. To, you know, I don't know what I'd be thinking about if I was close to the end, but to think of that was such a generous kind of thing as well. And did you raise much, Philip?
We haven't tallied up yet. I think we had just over 5,000 in tractor entries, but we're waiting on kind of getting back from this, and then we're going to sit down and count the donation buckets and look at what the I Donate page is and all of that. So we've a lot going on. We kind
of course, yeah.
4 months ago when we said, oh yeah, we'll have the tractor run the week before the plough, and was like, oh yeah, that's grand. And then logistically it was quite hectic.
I can tell you from my own experience and things to be organised around the ploughing, it's absolutely flat to the mat around that time, that's for sure. And do you think it's something that you might do again?
No,
it was just a once-off.
It was a once-off. He just asked us to do it once. He wanted to make use of the audience that I had to try and raise money for those that looked after him towards the end.
That's incredible, and there's such worthy charities as well. You know, I recently did the hospice memorial walk to raise money, and they rely so much on the likes of us, you know, the families and friends and people who are donating. They don't get half enough support, I think, anyways, from the government and from other places like that. So to do something like that's incredible, because I'm sure, you know, even from your own family and your uncle's family, like the support that they would have gotten at the time in 2022, I'd say was absolutely invaluable.
Yeah, between the palliative care and the 9 nurses, it's just invaluable at the end of life care. It's hard to imagine how you'd have gone through it without it.
Absolutely. Now tell me about your future plans. As I said, you've ideas there now, but I'd say you're a man who's never not on the road. And if you're looking at it now, we're in 2024. Philip, where do you think that you want to be, for example, maybe in 2029, we'll say? 5 years' time, we're sitting here in the Agriland Pavilion. God willing, we're all still here. I'm chatting to you again. What will you be telling me about your farm and business by then?
Well, hopefully the farm shop will have went well. That's the big one for us now, is just pushing the farm shop and really knuckling down on that and growing the events that we can hold and all that end of it. On the contract, I'd like to keep pushing on that. And on the farming, I'm quite happy as we are, maybe a little bit less, because it can be a little bit challenging jumping between, right, I have to get cattle dosed today, tomorrow I'm going off at Slurry, I have to organise lads to maybe go at Slurry while I'm trying to get cattle done, and there's quite a lot of logistic challenges trying to manage everything that we're doing, but the farm shop definitely is the big one we want to be pushing on.
Yeah, and it's a kind of it's a long-term thing as well, in terms if you really get it off the ground, it'll sustain itself, you know. And I know you are very much, you know, of the mindset of being self-sufficient in your businesses too, isn't that right?
Yeah, so like as it is, we're fully self-sufficient winter finishers. So
Wow,
of all the
yeah.
cattle that we finish, we grow all the feed that they eat. So it's all barley, beet, maize, everything. The only thing we're buying is minerals to finish them.
Oh, yeah.
So we don't get any premium or anything for it, but it's part of our sales pitch through the beef we sell through the farm, and it works out financially better for us too. So.
Oh, is that so? Okay. Yeah. And with the I suppose the cost of everything, you know, the bigger the farm, the bigger the costs. Like that's just the way it is, Phil. So this year in particular, like, you know, we had Taoiseach Simon Harris in here earlier, and we were just, you know, I suppose impressing upon him the challenges that farmers have faced. Now, you have businesses going, you have a farm shop, and, you know, you have the social media side of things and the YouTube. So you're not, you know, exactly the same as every other farmer in the country, but you're still a farmer and an agri-contractor, two areas that have really been hit this year. And if, you know, if you had maybe the department in front of you, or you had the politicians in front of you, which they'll be in front of everyone at doorsteps in the next few months, like, what would be the things that you think farmers need support on now?
Well, it was disappointing to see that they took the dairy beef welfare scheme away from calf rearers.
Yeah.
Because that €20 we were getting per calf covered our vaccines.
Yeah.
Like, one of the biggest, it's not the biggest, but it's a good cost against each calf we rear is the vaccines, and that €20 covered them. So that was disappointing to see.
That's a very good point, and many calf rearers kind of raised that point with us as well at the time, you know. Now, Simon Harris said there'll be something in the budget for farmers. We'll see what that'll be, you know. The proof of the pudding is in the eating, isn't that it?
Yes.
And I just want to quickly go again to the social media side of things. So you mentioned there, when we were talking about cash flow and so on, that the social media side of things is a business now for you, and so on. So how did it go from that first, when you were doing farming sim on your computer, and then maybe going out and showing yourself, cutting silage yourself, to, I suppose, the mammoth operation that it is now?
Yeah, it's a funny one. Like, it started as crack. Like, that's all it was.
Yeah.
It's just putting up videos for the crack. And once you hit a certain milestone, then YouTube allows you to earn money.
Yeah.
And then once you grow to a certain size, then that money starts coming in on a monthly basis, and it becomes, you know, quite a decent bit of money that I'm able to reinvest in the farm, in machinery, and in staff. And like, it all happened by accident. Like, I never set out to do it. It was like, if my friend hadn't egged me on by saying I wouldn't do it, I probably never would have. So yeah, but it just grew, and like, we take things quite easy. We don't get too excited about things, and we try and work with local businesses and with smaller business where we can, and we adjust what we do on the social media for the size of businesses to make sure everyone gets good value out of it.
I'm conscious I'm asking you a lot of questions now, Farmer Phil, when there's actually people in the audience here who have questions that they're only dying to ask you. So we might go to the floor first. And what's your name?
Jimmy.
Jimmy, what do you want to ask Farmer Phil?
How long were you? How long did you start video, and how long are you at it? Like. So
I'll be 10 years at it next May. I uploaded my video, the first video on YouTube, the 27th of May.
Yeah. So, how'd you get into farming? Like.
I was always farming. Like, as from a young lad, that's all I remember was farming. I remember when I was 8 years old, my job was to go in after I'd done the homework, fill a barrow of meal, go round to, at that time we'd suckle our cows, and count how many heads was in the barrier, and then a shovel per animal, and if there's a bull, give them 2 shovels.
Wow.
And then the same in the morning, they bought us a PlayStation, and part of paying for the PlayStation was, when we went to school in the morning, was to throw crunch out to the calves on the lawn. I was just always at it.
Yeah. Jimmy, are you interested in becoming a YouTube farmer?
Not really YouTube farmer, but just farmer.
That's what we like to hear.
How say? Oh, I can't.
Well, we'll come back to you if you have any other questions. Put up your hand, Jimmy. No problem at all. We have another question.
What's it like to have all the machinery?
It's hard to park it all. we generally say everything is in the way of everything else in the farm. So every time you go to pick up something, there's usually another machine in front of it. So we tried to tidy that up last year by clearing up an unused area at the back of a shed. And that worked well till I decided to build a grain shed in that area. So now I've lost that machinery space. So we're back to parking everything in front of everything.
And out of all your tractors, what would be your main favourite?
It'd be a tight call between the 6499 and the 3690. 99 is a very reliable tractor, and the 3690 is a bit sick at the minute, so probably err on the side of the 99.
Very good. Have we any more questions there coming from the audience? We've a young cohort. You've a very, very strong young following, Farmer Phil. What's your name?
Sean,
Sean, hello. What do you want to ask Farmer Phil?
how long does it take you to bring in all the bales?
That's a big question. That's a very good question, Sean. Well done.
So that says like how long is a piece of string, how many bales and how far and how many's drawn. But we've a lot of bale handlers and a good crew, so we can move bales quickly when we need to.
I'd say you have to move it quickly at times when weather is about to turn and you have farmers on the phone to you ringing you every 3 seconds saying,
Yes.
what time will you be here? Absolutely. Go ahead and ask your question.
Do you
What's your name?
Column.
Colum, what do you want to ask Farmer Phil?
Do you like doing the farming at the videos at the same time? I mean, it looks a bit hard.
It can be sometimes a bit difficult, especially when we're working cattle, because the people working with me sometimes aren't too keen on me taking a minute to set up a camera or doing any of that. But generally speaking, machinery work is quite handy because I just pick it up when I'm doing a bit and put it down again. But when we're working livestock, it can be a few words said.
Do you have another question?
No.
Thank you. Well done for your questions. So I was just going to ask you, and this is out of pure curiosity, because we'd be watching your videos. Do you know or remember which is the video that got the most amount of views that you've put up in the 10 years?
Yeah, so my most viewed video is it was probably the 6th video I put up, top 10 tractor brands in the world.
Oh, yeah.
And it is awful. Quality is awful. The mic is shocking. I nearly delete it, but it just has this 900 and something thousand views.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing what will just take off. I mean, we had a video, and we've been going around the ploughing. You've probably seen us going around with the cameras for the last 3 days, and we're just talking to people, seeing what they love about being at the plough and what they love about farming. And we just talked to a great guy from down in Cork the last day, and just telling us what he loves about farming. And you probably saw it, slurry. He just dreams about slurry, loves slurry equipment. That's all he cares about. And it's got like over 1 million views in 24 hours. It's just brilliant, because you see people who are so enthusiastic about agriculture online, and people like to see more and more people promoting agriculture, because sometimes agriculture gets a bad rap, and it's nice to see the positive sides of it. I'm sorry, is there more questions? I'll go for it. What's your name?
Aaron.
What is it?
Aaron.
Oh, Aaron, lovely. What do you want to ask Farmer Phil?
What was your first tractor?
So my first tractor was a 135 when I was 13. We bought it off one of our customers at the time we were making bales for.
How well you remembered it. That's very good. Do you have a tractor yet?
Yeah, we have 2.
Wow. Do you be up in the tractors every day? What ones are they?
It's a New Holland and an old New Holland.
No, a New Holland and an old New Holland. You can't go wrong with that. Is that your favourite brand?
Yeah, it's my dad's favourite as well.
Oh, very good. Very good. Thanks for your question, Aaron. Is this Aaron's sister?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Emily.
Emily, what do you want to ask Farmer Phil?
How many machinery would you have?
Oh,
That's
no.
a big question, Phil.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be able to remember them all now. It's like, at some points we go into the yard and you'll be like, right, where's that piece of equipment? And you walk around the yard and then you go to yourself, I can't find it. And then you're going out to the outside area to see, can you find it? And then you're ringing, do you remember where that was left? And it could be left on an out farm, or, too many machinery to count.
Have we any more questions from the floor from anyone? Oh, we do, over here. More young fan favourites, Philip. What's your name?
Pierce.
Pierce, what do you want to ask Farmer Phil?
How many brands of tractors do you have?
So we have Massey Ferguson's, Nutfield's, Fordson's, Ford Ferguson's, John Deere, Ford, Massey Harris, and I think that's it.
Wow, there's a fair selection there now with all the brands over it. Thanks for your question. Do you have another one?
I'll think of one.
Do you like farming?
Yeah.
Do you want to be a farmer?
Yeah.
What tractor do you want to have?
Massey Ferguson.
Oh, there you go. Now we know why Farmer Phil is a fan favourite. And just coming back to that, I'm looking here at the young following that you have here. And I suppose, whether you wanted to or not, you've probably taken on a role on social media now, Farmer Phil, as a role model for young people in farming. You know, they're growing up on farms with their parents and they like to see someone doing it and being a role model for them. Do you feel now that you get noticed a lot more? People want to take photos with you, and do you feel a bit of a responsibility as well, like for you know, like young bucks and girls who are coming up who want to get into farming?
Yeah, so I definitely get spotted a lot, even on a day-to-day basis, or like in the most random spots. I've been spotted one time. We were in a hotel in France and crowd sitting at the table over would buy the milk replacer that they make. And
Stop.
Like it's mad in that regard. But yeah, there is a bit of a responsibility there to help nurture young people's interest in farming and to promote it as a way of making a living and to look at opportunities that's there to make it a way of living regardless of how many acres you have, because your imagination is your limit as to what you can do.
Do you get to ever meet famous people now as a result? Like, do they get to link up with you in any way at all?
Just other people on social media across the agri sector and even in other parts of the social media sphere, or whatever you want to call it. So.
Yeah, you're getting to meet more of that kind of cohort of whatever they might like to call themselves, influencers or bloggers or whatever.
Influencer is kind of a dirty word.
I'd say you wouldn't like that one. I didn't call you that. I was figuring you wouldn't like that word. All right, that's no problem. Oh, we're going to the floor again because we've more questions for Farmer Phil. So what's your name?
Charlie.
Charlie, that's a lovely name. What do you want to ask Farmer Phil, Charlie?
Do you ever feel like retiring?
Do you ever feel like retiring, Farmer Phil?
Well, I might be a bit on the young side to retire just yet.
He'll stay going for another little while, so don't worry. You can still stay watching his videos. What's your name?
Phelan.
Phelan, beautiful name. What do you want to ask Farmer Phil?
What's your favourite type of cow?
What's your favourite type of cow?
If I was to base it on what animal we have that probably makes us, our breed that makes us the most money, is probably the Jersey Cross or the Frisian Cross.
Right.
Because they're handy money to buy and they tick all the boxes we need to.
Yeah. They're pretty easy to manage as well. Like, you know, they're a fairly decent docile breed to manage, you know, when you're trying to kind of to rear them. Have we any... Oh, sorry, I'm going over. We have another question. Go ahead. They're a bit shy, but they want to ask a question of Farmer Phil. So go ahead. What's your name?
What's your favourite job?
What's your favourite job? Oh, because you've a lot of jobs now, Farmer Phil. So which one of them is your favourite?
So pipe and slurry is my favourite.
Piping slurry.
Pipe and slurry is just the best job. You get the pipe down into a good sized field or paddock and you literally turn on the auto steer and you put something on Netflix or YouTube and you just put the feet up and you're just dosing along up and down the field. It's brilliant.
It's incredible because a bouquet of roses is what slurry is to a real farmer who loves it, you know. There's plenty of people who close the vents in their car when they're driving along when someone's spreading slurry, but for a real farmer, that smell is, you know, it's just a real country rural smell that they grew up with and they love it, you know. But you wouldn't be the only slurry fan. Oh, we've a very young follower over here who wants to ask a question. What's your name?
Ellie.
Oh, lovely name. Will you ask Farmer Phil your question? Go ahead.
Which one's better, Massey or New Holland?
Oh, now bear in mind we've New Holland fans over here and a Massey fan over here. So are you going to go for the MF or the New Holland?
Oh, it'd have to be the Massey, not Nestle do.
Yeah, you might lose some followers today, Farmer Phil, I'd say, you know. Oh, have you another question?
No.
Good girl. Thank you very much for asking your question of Farmer Phil. So I think that's pretty much all we have time for in terms of questions. I'll quickly have one scan around just in case I missed anyone. I don't want any of the kids to feel left out. I think we got them all there. Farmer Phil, thank you so much for joining us today and the best of luck with the businesses. As I said to you, I hope we will be sitting down with you again in the future and you know, yourself and Liv will be there and you'll have an absolutely... It'll be a Clarkson's farm type operation probably by the next time we're talking to you with the way you're going. I think that's it. Yeah, I think we're good. Sorry, I thought I saw someone putting up their hand to ask a question, but we'll leave it there. Thank you so much to our guest on the live podcast from day 3 of Ploughing 2024 today, Farmer Phil. We do hope that you will go and follow his YouTube channel and all his social media, because you'll see very interesting content, especially with the pumpkins coming up now for the Halloween. So keep an eye out on that. Farmer Phil, thank you very much for joining us in Agriland.
Thanks very much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.